Trump just said something that accidentally revealed the uncomfortable truth about how every AI model on Earth actually works. And once you know what it is, you'll never look at ChatGPT the same way again. So here's what happened. A few weeks back, Trump made some comments about Anthropic, the company behind Claude, one of the biggest AI assistants right now. He wasn't endorsing them. He was basically saying they're not transparent about where their data comes from and what they're doing with it. And you know what? He's right. But here's the thing. He's not just calling out Anthropic. He's accidentally pointing at a problem that's baked into literally every single AI system that exists. Let me explain the actual problem, because it's way bigger than one company. When you train an AI model, any AI model, you need data. Tons of it. We're talking hundreds of billions of words, images, code snippets, everything. The model learns patterns from that data, and those patterns are what let it answer your questions or write your emails or generate images. But here's where it gets uncomfortable. Where does all that data come from? Most of it comes from the internet. Your internet. Posts you made on Reddit. Blog articles. GitHub code repositories. Books. News articles. Social media. All of it, scraped without explicit permission from the people who created it. When Anthropic trained Claude, they used publicly available internet data. When OpenAI trained GPT-4, same thing. Google with Gemini. Meta with Llama. Every single one of these companies has basically said, the internet is public, so we can use it. And legally, they're probably right. But ethically, that's where things get murky. The dirty secret Trump was hinting at is this. Nobody actually knows exactly what data trained their favorite AI. The companies don't always disclose it. They say things like, we used publicly available data, and we applied filters, but they don't open the books. You don't know if your words, your code, your creative work ended up in the training set. And once it's in there, it's baked into the model forever. You can't take it back. Now, some companies are trying to be more transparent. Anthropic actually publishes a lot more about their training process than, say, OpenAI does. But more transparent doesn't mean transparent. It means they're just admitting to the thing they were already doing anyway, and hoping people don't get too mad about it. Here's what makes this even worse. The data is used to train models that are then sold for profit. You created the content. You didn't get paid. You didn't even consent. The AI company got richer. You got nothing. And if you try to sue them, good luck. The law hasn't caught up. The copyright cases are still happening. We don't know who's going to win. But wait, there's more. Because this isn't just about individual creators. It's about your privacy too. When these models train on internet data, they sometimes memorize specific information, sometimes including personal details, sometimes including people's private information that happen to be published online. Researchers have shown that you can sometimes extract specific training data from language models if you ask them the right way, which means your data, your words, could be trapped inside a black box that you don't control. So what's the solution? Well, that's the hard part. Some people are pushing for opt-out systems, where creators can tell AI companies not to use their work. Others are pushing for legislation that requires explicit consent before scraping. The EU's doing some of this with their AI Act. But here's the reality. Unless you actively opt out, your data is probably already in multiple models. And opting out of future training doesn't undo what's already happened. There's also the question of whether AI companies should be paying creators for the data they use. Some smaller AI startups are actually doing this now. They're paying writers, artists, and developers to use their work in training. It's a model that could scale. But the big companies? They're not incentivized to do it when they can get it for free. What Trump accidentally exposed is that the entire AI industry is built on a foundation that a lot of people would find uncomfortable if they thought about it too hard. It's not illegal. It's not even that unusual in tech. But it's also not something the companies are eager to talk about in their marketing materials. You don't see OpenAI's homepage saying, we trained ChatGPT on billions of words we took from the internet without asking. They say trained on diverse data sources. Same thing, different words. And here's what worries me most. As these models get more powerful and more valuable, the incentive to be secretive about training data actually goes up, not down. Because if people knew exactly what data was used and how much of it was scraped without permission, there might be actual pushback. There might be lawsuits. There might be regulation. So the companies stay quiet, use legal language, and move forward. The good news is that awareness is growing. People are starting to ask these questions. Creators are getting mad. Regulators are paying attention. But the bad news is that the models are already trained. The data's already in there. And unless something changes, the next generation of AI is going to do the exact same thing. So the real question isn't whether Trump was right about Anthropic. The real question is whether we, as a society, are okay with AI being built on a foundation of data that nobody explicitly consented to share. And I don't think most people have thought about that question yet. But they should. If you want to actually understand what's happening behind the scenes with AI, instead of just reading headlines, subscribe. I break down the uncomfortable truths about how this stuff actually works, and I do it every few days. Hit that bell so you don't miss it.